who walks into a press conference and sees daycare. He, of course, is the man who covers the Eagles for ESPN.com. Tim McMahon is joining us on the Comcast Business Hotline. Hello, Timmy.
What's up, Mike? An all-timer yesterday.
Timmy, let me ask you this question because, okay, now they win, but he creates a couple of issues that are going to need to be asked about, right? So he comes into the presser with his children, young children in tow. As a reporter, what was your reaction to that initially?
So I had like a physical negative reaction, if I'm being totally honest. Like I was like just wanted to say no. You know, in fact, I came kind of close to saying something because it just, as a lot of people I think have expressed in the hours since, it just didn't feel right. Like it didn't match the moment. It didn't match the tone. There was plenty that needed to be asked. And so I was going to express myself as they walked in, but the reason that I didn't is because I didn't want to make the kids feel bad. Mm-hmm. Honestly, right? So it's like I don't want to do that to them. So we're just going to ride it out. But maybe that helps understand the overall tone of the press conference of where there would have been. It's not like he would have gotten grilled yesterday because they did win, but there were definitely substantive issues to get into, including the fact of part of the crowd is cheering "Fire Nick," but you're not going to ask that in front of his kids. So it obviously set a very strange tone, and I think that's the overwhelming sense that I got is that it from the kids being there to the way that Sirianni was acting felt tone deaf to me.
So he didn't do it intentionally as a shield. It was just a lack of awareness, or did he do it purposely?
I mean, I don't know for sure. I have a working theory that, of course, a lot of people have run with the idea that they were there to shield the tough questions. The working theory that I have, Mike, is that so the players told him basically be your authentic self when you go out there, and boy was he his authentic self. You know, he's yelling at the defensive backs and he's barking at the refs, and of course he's going after the fans at the end of the game. And it's almost like somebody turned the spigot on, and I feel like he was in a different place sort of emotionally and mentally than like the collective group was, that the players were, that the fans were, and was still in like this state of emoting where it felt, I should have my family with me and I just have all these feelings flowing through me. Like that's what it felt like more to me, because the fact that they would act as a shield kind of runs counter to what Sirianni has been trying to do all season and was even doing in that press conference, which has been like being the shield for the rest of the team, where he's taking like ownership of bad plays that were called and this, that, and the other thing. So I don't know that those two things fully match up for me. But however you slice it, it obviously just didn't match the moment.
All right. So listen, you cover the NFL. You see how coaches operate in the NFL, leaders of a team with a lot of different personalities, grown men. Is this the kind of thing, like in reading how the team reacts to this, when he comes out and says, yeah, they want me to be me, do they really? Like, is this what they want inside the locker room? Or are they looking at this guy like he's a leader of men, but he does it this way?
So I feel like the sentiment generally in the locker room is positive towards Sirianni. I feel like people like the fact that, he does go to bat for them, that he is emotionally invested, very strong on connecting and messaging and doing right by them. And so I feel like generally they do have his back. To me, it's more of a question of, okay, so the players say be your authentic self. And I think that's like a good view to have. Like you shouldn't fake who you are. Even though Jeffrey Lurie during the offseason, mentioned during his annual press conference, sometimes Sirianni gets a little carried away, and that can be counterproductive. And so clearly the messaging was there of, you got to tone it down a little bit. And he did tone it down a little bit. And then the players gave him the green light, and he took it. And so I think it's fine, Mike, to be your authentic self. I think the question is being your authentic self matching what the job description is as a CEO coach? Is Sirianni cut out for that role? Because when I think of CEO coach, I think a steady hand, man. I think of the guy who's got the 30,000-foot view, and, the perspective is one that's like a overarching, you're cool, calm, and collected, making sure that the operation is totally buttoned up and efficient, and that's not how this feels. Sirianni has been all over the place, and that's from like his sideline behavior. We saw two very different extremes from the first handful of games to what we saw last night. His decision-making in game has been all over the map. Like, there's no real rhyme or reason that we can really, like, hone in on. And so, is Sirianni cut out for this role? I think that's a fair question.
I think it's really interesting that the owner preached emotional intelligence, and my man's cupping his ear to the crowd. So do you have any hints right now on how the organization is feeling about what happened yesterday? And conversely, is Sirianni in a mode where he says, I don't give a crap?
Well, I could tell you, I don't know what Lori is thinking. I could tell you that there's definitely people in the organization that felt like that whole sequence from the end of the game through the press conference wasn't good. I think that's recognized. Is Sirianni kind of in like, I'm doing it my way because, my butt's on the line anyway? Possibly he could be angling towards that. But from Lori's perspective, I'm just trying to put myself in his shoes right now. And this was, granted, it wasn't a great win, but I think today the conversation would have been like, yeah, it was unsatisfying, but here's some negatives and then here's some positives. Like here's Cooper DeJean and the 5 sacks and the 10 quarterback hits. And how about Brandon Graham in his 200th game coming up with some big plays? How about A.J. Brown, man? What a difference maker A.J. Brown is. All that stuff just got totally squashed because Sirianni was acting the way that he was acting and did what he did. And if I'm the owner and I'm looking at that, there's a lot of people that have been talking about, it's just kind of embarrassing. Is this embarrassing for the owner? It's hard to look at it and not say, yeah, to some degree it has to be.
Yeah, Tim, because we know Philadelphia could be a tough place, fans, media, but this has taken a national toll now. You got it everywhere where they're saying Sirianni's a clown and he's embarrassed. I can't imagine the organization is happy. But let me ask you, you said when he walked into that press conference, you were ready to say no with the kids. Where was Bob Lang? Where was Big Dom? And where was everyone else? Did you see them try to say, hey, Nick, whoa, this isn't the time and place, man?
I did not see anybody trying to say that, and I think it's right to point out that maybe Sirianni was in a different headspace and needed to be guided towards what the right thing to do in that moment was. And I don't know if those conversations were had and he just ran through a red light, but, it does fall in some circumstances on the people around him, and PR being a big part of that to say, listen, I understand what you want here, but it's, the questions are probably going to be a little bit tough. The atmosphere might be not exactly what you think you're walking into, so maybe we should, they should hang back in this one. And clearly that didn't happen.
Sorry, Tim McManus, ESPN. Tim, last question for me is this. Because you had a human instinct when you first came on here, and you said you saw the kids, and you weren't going to ask him about the fire Nick chance because you're a human being. You're a reporter. Right. I know you have to get an answer, but what I'm saying, it quells you as a reporter because those kids are there. And that, to me, is the whole essence of why they shouldn't be there.
That's 100% correct. And if maybe it's a little bit different, I'm generally not of the opinion that I think that people should be bringing their kids out into that environment. I understand that it's different if you just won the NFC East or you just had you're 7-0 and you just stomped somebody 35-0. Like that I get because the question is, what are we going to ask? It's how good is Jalen Hurts?
Yeah.
It's a little bit tougher. I love my kids. I have 3 kids too, Mike, but I don't bring them to work. You know what I'm saying?
I was saying earlier, Steph Curry brought that little girl out there and they won the NBA championship and everybody thought it was cute. But as a rule, it's put yourself in a reporter's mindset there. Yeah,
and I know most people they don't care about
they don't.
Which is cool. I totally understand that, but I think it's more about we're obviously trying to get the substantive matters, and so I don't think it's right because that doesn't allow us to do our job, which is to relay what we feel should be the proper questions in that environment, so that the fans can get the answers that they're looking for. That's how I look at it. It's not a woe is me thing. I don't care about all that.
Yeah.
But for the fans' sake, I just didn't think it was right.
No, I hear you. Tim, thank you for popping on. We really appreciate it. You gave us some great insight. Thank you.
Of course. See you, boys.
Tim McManus, covering the Eagles for ESPN.com. So